in today's class, we will discuss sexuality, gender, pronouns, and how to make friends. Next slide, please. What is sexuality? In short, it describes who you are attracted to. Remember, these things come at their own time. If I had littles here, I would tell them that it comes when you're older. It does not have to happen at any time, and there's no pressure to make any decisions now. Next slide, please. LGBTQIA. What does that mean? It means love is love is love is love. Let's go through just from the beginning. L. L stands for lesbian. Lesbian means a woman who is sexually attracted to a woman, who loves a woman. Next letter we have is G, gay. Gay stands for a man who loves a man. It also stands for any same-sex person who loves another same-sex person. It's sort of an umbrella term. So, is a lesbian couple also a gay couple? Yeah, they are also a gay couple. B, that stands for bisexual. That's where I land on the spectrum. Bisexual means that you are attracted to more than one gender. More than one gender, not just one. Bi means two, but it means just, in this context, more than one gender. T, that's where we get into gender. T stands for transgender. Transgender means that these people who identify as transgender do not identify as the gender assigned to them at birth. I also identify as this part of LGBTQIA. The next letter we have is Q. Q stands for a number of things. Q can stand for questioning, which is how it was taught to me first. Questioning means I'm not sure where I am on the spectrums. I'm not sure where I fit in. It can also mean queer. Queer is a word that has gone through, I guess, some transformations in its own right. Queer has been used as a derogatory word and has been reclaimed, and nowadays you'll find that young people use it in place of questioning. So a lot of people will use queer as an umbrella term, even for all of LGBTQIA. So today, I'm giving a discussion on queer identity. On queer identity. I identify as a queer woman. You see, it's an umbrella term. I stands for intersex. These are people who, when they are born, are not born with the reproductive organs that are easily identifiable as either XXY or XX or XY. You know what I mean? There are multiple different configurations of those chromosomes, and those people might identify as intersex. And that's a whole presentation on itself. So we have just a brief review: lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and then we have A. A stands for a number of things. A here is like the root word: a gender, a romantic, a something. A means without. So if I am aromantic, it means that when I am looking for a partner, I'm not in it for the romance. I'm aromantic. Or I'm asexual. I'm not in it for the sex. I'm without sex. I'm asexual. Without sex. Okay? So the A is encompassing more identities than just one, okay? But it mostly stands for asexual or ACE. It stands for our ACE siblings, right? So LGBTQIA, that is our little toe dip into what LGBTQIA is. But the short answer, the answer that I give all the kiddos, is that love is love is love is love. And that's all there really is to it. So next slide, please. Gender. We've talked about a man loving a man and a woman loving a woman, but what exactly is a man or a woman? Let's go to this educational video to see. A warning before we press play. This video does use scientific terms for genitals, so if that is uncomfortable for you or your children, please just know. Earmuffs.
Aww. Hi, baby. Are you a boy or a girl?
Funny you should ask, Sid. One of the first things they check when a new baby is born is what kind of body parts they have. They do that to determine a baby's sex. Most of the time, it's easy to determine, and sometimes it's more complicated.
This one has a penis. It's a boy. This one has a vulva. It's a girl. Congratulations.
Whoa, let's hit the brakes, people. The way your body looks on the outside is only part of the story.
What?
Stay with me, gang. This is important. Hi, little one. Your sex refers to your physical body parts, remember? But there is also something called gender, which is how you feel inside your body and who you know yourself to be. And your gender, how you feel on the inside, doesn't always match the sex you were called when you were born.
Okay.
Let's say you were born with a penis and you feel like a boy inside. In that case, your sex and your gender match.
Well, what if you were born with a penis and you know you're a girl inside, not a boy?
Then your sex and your gender don't match.
Wait, what does know you're a girl inside mean anyway? Does that mean you have to love pink things and princesses?
Nope. Sometimes people refer to things as girl things and boy things, but this is just how people sometimes classify things, usually to make it easier to sell stuff to kids and their parents. Clothes, toys, and games are for everyone. You don't have to be a boy or a girl to like a certain thing. Sid, has anyone ever told you that you shouldn't play with something or wear something because you're a boy?
Well, yes.
The body parts you were born with don't always dictate who you are, how you feel, or what you like to play with.
Ah, that's such a relief.
Gender, how you feel and who you know yourself to be, tells you who you are, and there are a whole bunch of possibilities. Figuring out what feels right for you is just part of growing up. Bye, little cutie. You might want to change that diaper sooner than later.
Well, that was a nice brief introduction to the difference between gender and sex, the difference between gender identity and sexuality. I really, really loved that they were saying that there are no designated toys for boys or for girls. I think that's something that has become a very popular idea lately. Everyone can play with whatever they want to. Everyone nowadays, I think it's more accepted that you get to wear the clothing that is comfortable to you. You know, it's hot out. Who wouldn't want to wear a cotton dress? There's a nice breeze. Nothing is barred just because of gender. Next week, we'll have more of a discussion on what it means to deconstruct gender and what it means to affirm young people as they grow up in their bodies, and as we challenge ourselves to, you know, as we're raising young people, to encourage them in ways that maybe we weren't encouraged. I, with my nieces, will always encourage them the way that I was as a young person when they thought I was a boy. I always will ask them, "Are you strong? Are you strong?" And they go, "Yeah, I'm strong." And I'll go, "Show me." And they'll try to flex for me. And the first time they were shy, but nowadays when I go, "Show me," they'll go, "Ugh." And my nieces are the girliest of girly girls, but now they'll flex for me, and that's a fun sort of way that I've been able to teach them that they can be strong. They can do that. So when it comes to gender, anything goes. There's a world of possibility out there, and I think that the world is seeing that there are less things that are intrinsically tied to our sex that we were assigned at birth, and that we get to choose who we are. And I think that if we examined our own gender, we would find in ourselves that there are things that are outliers to what we were told we were supposed to be. So maybe even throughout this week, think about that. What about my gender is outside of that norm that I was told to be? And in what ways am I defying my gender norms already? This is my segue to pronouns. When it comes to gender, anything goes, and there's a pronoun to go along with the experience. I have a small book here. Are there any kids here that would like to come up for a little story time? Because if not, I'll just story time it for everyone. All story time for everyone? Okay. This book, it's a paper book. I got it from the library. It's called Them, He, and She, Words for You and Me. Hey there, have you met Kai? She plays piano in her school's band. How about Frankie? He is baking blueberry muffins, his favorite. Yum. It's Nico's birthday. Watch them blow out the candles. Can you guess what they wished for? And what is Zuri up to today? She is playing soccer with her teammates. What fun. Oh, and here's Rory. He loves to paint, and his favorite color is rainbow. Have you met Ash? Z has a green thumb. That means Z takes excellent care of all Zer plants. It's a beach day for Morgan. They are collecting seashells. How many have they found? Juno prefers to be called Juno. Can you believe that Juno's family has 3 cats? It's true. Juno is excited to meet you and all your new friends. I'll read a little bit from the back of this. Your name is a word that is called a noun, something that describes a person, place, or a thing. A pronoun is a word that can be used instead of your name, and it's up to you which word fits best. So, you heard new pronouns, correct? You heard pronouns like Z and Zer, they and them in the singular. These are things that are newer. I would say that singular they, them has been around for longer than we've really acknowledged. I would say that Shakespeare was using singular they, them, and it's been more popular in more recent times. But there are new words coming out to describe new experiences. And so as people find themselves not experiencing themselves as purely male or purely female, but more outside of that, non-binary, they're finding words to refer to themselves, ze, zer, they, them, that really make them feel like that's their experience. And some people, they can't find pronouns that make them feel seen and heard. So instead, they choose to go by their own name instead. And that is honestly, if you cannot remember someone's pronouns, a really good rule of thumb. If you use someone's name instead of their pronoun or a pronoun, you're always going to get it right. Next slide, please. So these were some of the pronouns that we heard. She, her, he, him, they, them, ze, them, zezer. Those are ways that I've seen it spelled.
What do they mean?
They are pronouns in the same way that she, her are pronouns. You plug them in the same spot. Yes.
Chooses they, them, but if not my granddaughter, but my grandchild
Yeah, your grandchild.
chooses they, them, when would I use X, M, or Z, zer?
Oh, if a person has told you their pronouns are they, them, you would only ever use they, them with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Only when somebody tells me they are,
Zezer. Yeah.
that's when I use
The X and E, that's Z, and Zem, or Z, Zer, I put those in the same line. They're pronounced the same. Zezer. Zem, Zezer. Yeah. So you would only ever use what is called a neo-pronoun when somebody tells you that that is their pronoun. You wouldn't look at me and go, oh, she's got more stubble today. I'm gonna throw a they them at her. You know, you would ask, right? You would ask and you would inquire. Which I do believe is my next slide, if I'm correct. No, not at all. That is actually the next part of the lesson. Next slide, please. Making new friends. Kindness is key. Ask yourself, does me knowing this question or knowing this information help keep this person safe? So you asked, is it okay for me to ask what their pronouns are? Yes. Let me tell you, if I hear an incorrect pronoun, I get scared, or maybe even I'm uncomfortable, or I don't maybe feel safe to talk to that person. And it doesn't have to do with maybe even if you are a safe person, it's just a physical, emotional reaction in my body. I get scared, you get scared. So yes, you can always say, hi, I'm curious, what's your pronoun? Or what do you like to go by? And yes, we have a question. Oh, can you say it into the microphone, love?
So when my hair was really short and I cut it like really right here, yeah, people kept asking me if I was a girl or a boy, and there's still other pronouns, and I still felt like really uncomfortable because they just said girl or boy instead of that.
Yeah. Well, also, it's a question that doesn't, it's not a question for you to feel more comfortable. It's a question for them to feel more comfortable, huh? They're asking not because they're like, oh, how do I make this young person feel more comfortable? It's more like you look very confusing, and I'm not okay with that. Another question, Nori?
Yeah. Also, some people call me a bald head, and I did not like that. That was really bullying.
Yeah, that it was rude.
Yeah, because I was just a girl with my hair short in 3rd grade.
Yes, and what have we learned today? Girls can have short hair.
Yeah,
Girls
literally.
can have short hair.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Yes, that was one of the things I was going to bring up. One of the questions that I think is very damaging when you come up to someone is, are you a boy or a girl? It's very confrontational, and it's not leading with kindness first. So what are some ways that we can approach someone who maybe we can identify them as queer, but we can't really identify much further, right? They're visibly queer. What are some ways that we can approach them? What are some ways that we can introduce ourselves? Let's pass it around.
Can you describe what it means to look queer?
Oh, I was just kind of like, it was a hypothetical. There is no queer look. It was a hypothetical, like, a person that you are around. I like to practice asking pronouns in general. In any big group, I'll do a pronoun check. And that will make people feel more comfortable to share their pronouns. So if I'm in charge of a big meeting, new people, I will say my pronouns, which is a huge thing. If I say my pronouns first, other people know it's safe to say theirs. And I'll go around and say, if you're comfortable, say your name and your pronouns, so that it's an introduction and we don't have to say the questions. And then the next question, if you do need to know someone's pronouns or you're not sure, is what pronouns do you use? How do you refer to yourself? How would you like me to refer to you? Question?
Like, your question was, how can we approach someone? So I would introduce myself first, like, hi, I'm Jen. I use she, her pronouns. What's your name? What pronouns do you use? And it's pretty simple.
Yeah, that's perfect. Any other suggestions for how to introduce, bridge the gap?
I think of it kind of as like a nickname. I mean, just because, you remember that, always having that experience on the first day of school where the teacher's reading through the computer printed list, and there's at least one kid I went to school with a kid whose real name was Melvin Lewis, but he went by his middle name of Richard. And I think one year he was in all my classes, so I heard this 6 times in one day. It's Richard. You know, it's just because something's written there doesn't mean that's the name I identify with. And if you have a nickname, you know what the experience is like to be, to want to go by something other than what the piece of paper says your name.
Yeah.
I find it really helpful when there's name tags, and within that, it has the gender. I find that really, really helpful. You know, like when I go to Starbucks or wherever, or I've seen, you know, a letter from the city of Beaverton in email. I think it doesn't matter where, but it was a professional letter, and to have that gender identity makes it much more comfortable. Then I know preference, and I can be polite, whatever.
Yeah, this is kind of like a comment. In the wider public, especially when I'm doing business meetings and things like this, it's interesting. Like, if I ask somebody or pronounce my pronouns or ask somebody, I always feel like I'm not able to remain politically neutral, right? And it produces like a little bit of a like block in my mind a little bit. And I wonder if you have any, any thoughts about that?
Remaining politically neutral, like in a mixed company space.
This is my name, these are my pronouns, that is very liberal coded.
Mm-hmm.
Can we repeat that again? Oh, I just said, if you know, if you're in a business meeting or something kind of with a lot of different people, and you say, my name is Mark and my pronouns are he, him. That comes across as very liberal coded. And I guess the comment I was going to make, since I have the mic and everything, pronouns are a way that you talk about people, not the way you talk to people. And so most of the time you don't, if you follow this slide, follow the golden rule, and you just use the person's name when you're talking to them, you don't necessarily need to know their preferred pronouns. Now, I think in getting to know them, I think that's a very important
I'll
aspect.
disagree with you there. There are two things that I think we should. I'll definitely answer your question. I think it's very important to honor people's identity and to learn their pronouns, especially when you are in shared spaces where they will be overhearing you talk about them, especially when you are in a church environment like this, where they are going to hear you say, oh, he wants it like this. Oh, he wants it done like that. Oh, he was saying this the other day. No, I wasn't. She was saying that the other day. It has ripple effects, and you want to honor the full person. So when you get to know someone, know the full person.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that aspect. I'm just
apologies.
When you're dealing
And if I can address Aaron's question, can I address it with a question? Why do you want to conceal the liberalism, I guess? Is this like a personal safety, or is it like a business safety? Is it like a politeness thing? What is that for? May I ask, can I pass this to Aaron, please? Good discussion, thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely a business thing where we don't know each other and we're still dancing around each other to understand the relationship we're gonna have, like especially sales calls and things like this. And then the other thing too is I know when I hear the opposing ideas, I feel uncomfortable, and I don't want to make that person uncomfortable too from the other side. I have that feeling. It's like, even though I do feel like it's better to honor, to do all the things that we call liberal, right? I do have this feeling I don't know this person and I'm going to impose potentially discomfort on them, and I just met them. So that's all, and it's
Absolutely. I think you have found yourself, when you are in that mixed company, and especially in this business setting, and you are in this position of, do I introduce myself with my pronouns and ask for pronouns, and potentially, what you are doing in that moment is an act of resistance and protest, and it is creating space for any LGBTQ people either in your space, around your space, or that could come into that space. So you have found yourself in that position to check in with yourself. Do you have the strength, resiliency to open that space? Is that a struggle that is worth that sort of onus? Does it need to happen in that moment at that time? It's a really interesting question, especially because you're experiencing a small portion of what queer people in a professional setting go through when they get into those settings where I'm in a professional setting and I have to go, sorry, I'm not a boy, my pronouns are actually she, her. And then to have to, navigate it from there. So it is difficult to navigate, and I acknowledge that yes, you are introducing discomfort into that space, but it depends on you. What intentions do you want to put behind introducing your pronouns? What intentions do you have?
Can I suggest that the way we've set this up as a two-part thing, which was the ABCs this week and the really hard questions next week, I feel like we've ventured off into the hard questions, and we probably need to wrap this up soon. So
we have, folks. I intended for this to be more geared towards children. Thanks for the engagement and for the hard questions. But
can
small Susie Q needs to go to the potty. You know, Susie Q, that's right here.
Can I ask one question that I've never heard the answer to?
Yes.
Which is relevant to the ABCs, which is there's a term that kind of crept up on me without any sort of definition or explanation, and I still don't know where the term came from. So maybe you could explain the term cis.
Cis, yes. Cisgender is how we talk about people who identify as the sex that they were assigned at birth, the gender that they were assigned at birth. I don't know the root word cis, but I do know that it means that I was assigned, that Dan was assigned male at birth, and he agrees that he is male and he identifies as a boy. He is cisgender. He's a cis male. That is what cis means. C-I-S, cis. You know some of where it comes from? Yeah, please share.
In organic chemistry, there are molecules that are either cis or trans. That's how I always remember it. And the cis molecules have the bigger components on the same side, and trans molecules have bigger components on the opposite side. So that's kind of a way to cisgender. Gender is the same as sex assigned at birth. Transgender is opposite. So that's kind of where the root, I think, maybe it's not from organic chemistry, but that is a part of
that's a great insight.
We use that in scientific language.
Thank you.
Okay, just needed a chemist. And then we got that straightened out.
Can I address the mix instead of Mr. or Mrs.? Mix? Going to do that?
There's gonna be a huge presentation next Sunday. I have cisgender mix. I have all sorts of it's the actual ABCs of the LGBTQs. This was meant for quickly here's for the kids introduction type stuff. Next week we're gonna be diving into all these questions. So yes, we have time for it next week. Okay?
So shall we wrap this up and move the chairs?
We shall wrap this up. What else do I have? Do I have anything else? What we learned. We learned a little bit about sexuality, gender, pronouns, and how to be a good friend. Thank you all for coming to the first part. I appreciate you all.